Okay. In JavaScript, we have a map function that maps each element inside the array to another value, but we don't have the same functionality in the objects. So in this video, I will try to implement a map function into the object, into any object, which that means I should add it inside the object dot prototype dot map. So we will have a function called map. We can call it from any object that will maps each key and value. So we will treat each key and value as a single element. We can map them. But so just small information. If you don't know what this is, this object, this is a constructor function. So we can create a new object by like this, and z will be equal to object and name equal r. So yeah, and this is a function, but each function in JavaScript is an object. So that's why we can we have the object dot assign, object dot what was bind. No, not bind. Sorry, object dot freeze, get on property names. So yeah, it's a constructor functions that had a property on them. Anyway, so and JavaScript is a prototypal language, so we can add functions to each prototype for each constructor function, which will add this function, the map, to all other objects. I think the phrase add is a little bit wrong because it won't add them. All the objects referencing the same object prototype. So that's why they all access the same function map. So if each time you change the behavior of this function, all objects that uses this function will also change their behavior because they all reference the same prototype. I hope this is clear. But anyway, if you want to implement such thing, we need to get the key and the value for each property, for each iteration. So I think a good function that does this is inside the object constructor. It's called I don't think I will have auto completion here. It's called entries for the if I pass the object. So const did equal. Let me just comment some of them so we can see it a little bit better. So here, the name and the age. Entries will return an array of arrays. Each array will contain two values. The first one is the key. The second one is the value. So name is what? Age is 22. Okay, this is helpful. And another good function is object dot from entries. Camel case, of course. We need to pass it the z. It's the array of arrays we created. So what is the new variable? It's the object that we started from. It has the same value, of course. It's not the same object, but it has the same value. So object from entries will convert an array of array into a function, into an object. Sorry. So the first index is the key, the second was the value. So name, reward, age 22. Okay. So I think you are starting to see how we can implement this map function. So okay, let's start. This will accept a function, a callback function that will maps each key and value, and will define a variable called entries, int for entries, and will be object dot entries for what? How we can reference the object that we call this function from. This. That's why actually I'm using the function keyword. In the arrow function, this won't be bounded to the object that called this function. It will be bounded to this from the outer scope. In our case, since I'm using Node.js, it will be bounded to the global object. But to make it bind to the object that called the map function, use the function keyword. Anyway, so I will create another variable called mapped. So this is the mapped keys and values. So entries dot map. Here I will call the function with the key. Of course, each element is an array of the entries, this variable is an array of arrays, so I can do something like this: e, so e0, which is the value, the key, sorry, and e1 is the value. I'll just do it another time here so we can see what do I mean. So yeah, entries will return an array of array. The first one is the key, e0, and the second one is the edge, is the value. And I don't like the syntax. We can directly destruct each element from the array like this. So inside the argument for the function, inside the parameter for the function, put an array, which means this function will accept an array and we will destruct it. So this is the first element is the key, the second one is the value. So here we can say pass the key and the value. I think this is much readable, very much more readable than accessing the array indexes. This is called destructuring, by the way, if you want to Google it. It's really helpful. Then we will return object dot from entries. So this is also an array of arrays. The user should return an array. The first element should be the key, the second one should be the value. So we will convert the mapped array into an object. But what if the user want to remove a specific property from the object? So he or she should return a null from this object, from this function. So we can just filter and we can just remove the nulls. So nulls are false values, so this will return a false and it will remove it. We can make it a little bit more readable by calling the argument not null, like this. Okay, you can do this, but the same thing, shorter and I think easier to understand. Okay, a simple usage we can do. So Object.map, I will store it in a variable. So here we should pass our callback, which accept a key and a value. So let's say return key value. This should give us the same object. But let's say the value I want. I will return these. So what I will do, I'll remove those two lines. What I will do, if the key is equal to love coffee, if the key is equal to love coffee, return null. So I want to remove this property. Else return the array, the new array that will be mapped. So I can do this. So as you can see, in the result, we don't have the property love coffee. Okay, this is good, but another example, maybe if the value is an array, we can check that by calling isArray from the array constructor. So if it's an array, it check if it has one value, the number one. So value dot includes one, else just return it. So as you can see, the property array, it's true because it includes one. So let's say 90, it will be false. And for each, for each key we can, maybe for each key we can, what I am doing, 90, okay, sorry. Maybe for each key we can map it. So new key. Yeah. I know this is really simple example, but I think you can do very powerful things with this. Because you usually, for myself at least, I usually do these things. So I think adding them to the prototype of the object will be helpful. We can make this a little bit shorter by removing this. So this is an implicit return, since it's only one line in the function. And these question mark and the colons, these I forgot the names, but I think you can call you can call them in other languages inline if statement. I think if you Google that, you will find it. You find it online. The inline if statement in JavaScript. It's really helpful. As you can see, I'm using it here and here. If you use if else statement, it will be a little bit more than this. I think that's it. I hope it's useful in any way. Okay, bye.